Hello YouTubers, this is Joe from our YouTube channel, Thrifters and Fixers. So today my wife and I, we went out to Goodwill to do a little shopping, get some items to list, and I found this amp. They had a price on it of $89. Excuse me. When I go to Goodwill, if I see a high price on an item, I definitely put some time in and do some research, because when they put higher prices on items, they did some research as well. So I kind of tells you it's going to be worth some money. So anyway, long story short, I did look this up. The comps on this were about $259 to $289. As you can see, it's a Traynor guitar amp. You can Google it. Actually, when you Google it, the TS-15 Traynor, they have really good reviews on it. It supposedly from the 70s, and some of the sites I looked at consider this amp rare. So I already started to take it apart, and then I thought, you know what, this would make a good restoration video, because, you know, our channel is a combination of fixing, restoring, and also our eBay side, purchasing and selling and whatnot. So I want to start off with, like I said, I already started to take it apart, so I kind of put it back together so I can show you guys exactly what you got to take apart to start doing an inspection. Now, another thing that I do, vintage items, especially from like the 70s, now I take a chance because I bought this without plugging it in. But that's kind of my rule of thumb. I don't plug old equipment in until I get it home, take it apart, and inspect it, because you never know. I don't want to plug it in at the store and blow something up and now it's really cooked. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear it down. We're going to do a visual inspection, you know, just make sure everything's okay with it. We're do some restoration, do some cleaning and all that. So real quick, in order to tear this down, it's actually very simple. The front plate comes off with 4 screws here and here. These are the screws. These screws are also the same as the 2 here and here. This holds the top of the control board on. Obviously, take the handle off, and then let me turn it around so you can see. And then this screw here and this screw here, these are all the same. These, the 2 fronts for the panel, and the 4 for the front cover, all the same screw. But, you know, keep things separated so you remember how to put it back together. Like I said, I already did, these are just the speaker wires I just unplugged. I recommend, before you unplug it, mark 1, like I colored this one black, and I color where it goes black, just to make sure they go in the right spot, because a lot of equipment it is left and right, so it's important. And that's about it. Like I said, you take these 2, that's the back of the control board, these 2 the front of the control board. This pushes right out. That's your speaker and your front cover. And when you take these 2 and the 2 back out, this will just fall right out. So I did do a little bit of cleaning. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to tear it the rest of the way down, and we'll come back and then we'll start looking at the circuit board to see what's up with it. Okay, we're back. Now we have the control board taken out. You can see, we can see the circuit board. This is actually, looks pretty simple to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a visual inspection. Obviously, one of the first things you could do is you could take a look at the fuse. It looks good, but you can pop it out and do a continuity test on it. Another thing that I saw recently, I was watching a video on how to repair power supplies, and it might apply to this as well, is let me get my meter out. Make sure you guys can see it. We'll set it to ohms, and what the guy on the video was saying is if you test from your neutral and your black, you should get a high readout. You should get high resistance. To me, that doesn't look like high resistance at all. So I'm not 100% sure, but he did say when you have a low resistance like that, that could indicate you have a short to ground somewhere on your board. So let's move on and let's continue to do our visual inspection, see if we can find something. So I think I'm just going to take the camera off its stand because it'll be a little bit easier for me to show you guys what I'm looking at. And we'll move that out of the way. The tear down. So the circuit board has these 4 screws, and you'll see 4 plastic spacers. The plastic spacers go under the circuit board, obviously, to keep the contacts up away from the bottom plate. You got 2 transistors here. One's already taken apart. The other one, what I recommend is, as you're taking stuff apart, take pictures of everything that you're doing. This way you know you can get it put back together right. So when I took the transistors off, there's this little guy. That's a heat sink. It's just a little piece of, I'm not sure what material it is, but you'll see there's white on it, so there's obviously got compound on it as well. So what we'll do is, before we put it back together, we'll clean those up and we'll put some fresh heat sink compound on there as part of the restoration. So you have that. Now, I still can't really get to the bottom of the circuit board because there's still some things that are connected that are preventing me. So what I'm going to do, actually, let me finish getting this guy undone. That's starting to give us a little bit more room now. But this transformer here is also in our way. So we'll try to quickly get that off. Okay. Now what that's going to do is that's going to give us a little bit more room to start looking underneath as well. So as I started to say, we're just looking for anything obvious, any kind of black marks that indicate burns. You could do wiggle tests on all the components that are soldered, make sure that the joints are tight and not broken away. So far everything looks good. What I did notice here, let me see if you can get a shot at that. Hopefully you can see this. Anyway, that left capacitor, let me show you. This left capacitor right here, there's a little bulge mark right there, which could indicate, you know, we all know bulging capacitors are bad capacitors. And also, if you look on the capacitor to the right, it's got an even worse looking bulge. It's almost like, looks like the innards are starting to come out. To me, I'm going to say that that's probably bad, and that might be what's causing our short to ground. So what we'll do is we'll finish our inspection. We're obviously going to have to replace those capacitors. I'll see if I have some. And then when we get through with that, we'll do that test again on the incoming power and see if our resistance changes. So again, we're just going to continue to go over the board, look for anything that just doesn't look right. Now this is an old piece of equipment, so I'm looking at these power resistors. They might just be showing age, but you know what we can do is we're going to do some testing too. We'll test across resistors. Obviously, we'll test across the capacitors. We'll remove them and test them. I think they're going to need to be replaced. There's really not too many more capacitors on here, so we might just go ahead and recap the whole thing. I believe I have all the ones that I need. Again, we'll look at the resistors. I have some of those power resistors. But if they test okay, then that's fine. Just leave them. Another thing that we're going to do, all the control knobs and switches, I use deoxit. Just spray them real good. Give them a couple turns. Same with the switches. Spray them real good. Flip the switches, you know, back and forth a couple times. Get them cleaned up, because that could cause you problems. And that's about it. So I think I'm going to end this video right here. I'm going to do some more inspection. I'm going to start testing some components, take them out, and once I get, you know, to that point, I'll start another video and we'll see what we find.